Sorry, it took a little bit longer than I hoped it would, but I'm here now. So everything is good. Let's continue where we left off.
On the other hand, are a mixed bag.
Sorry, Ed.
This game,
Mm,
you're not ready for it.
I don't want to be ready.
Bag. Some of them are pretty great. Some of them, like the hateful, are just fucking annoying to fight. Have random unblockable moves that.
Well, I don't know what a random unblockable move is. I mean, they can do unblockable moves and blockable moves. What's wrong with that?
Make no sense. The fucking God of War can't block a random fire skeleton's axe swing.
Well, here's the thing. Narratively, he could beat anyone in a single hit. But for a gameplay standpoint, they had to do this. But narratively, yes, you're right. Narratively. But what fun would the game be then?
My immersion is destroyed. And the first Berserker fight, which is mandatory, by the way.
It's not, though. It's not mandatory. None of them are. You're just wrong.
Has way too much fucking help. Oh yeah, and I was bumped down to normal at this
Then come back and do it again.
point too. When I finally managed to beat him, I think it took me 3 straight minutes of dodging and countering the same 4 attacks over and over again to actually whittle down his health.
Well, congratulations. You beat him. This is completely subjective.
It doesn't help that filling the stun meter doesn't give you a free execution type of attack on him. It just opens him up to damage for a few seconds.
Well, what it does is they remove the animation and they just give you the damage. That's what they did. And then there's some animation for some enemies.
At least
That's
the
all
other
they did.
Berserkers are end game optional bosses that you can come back and fight when you have better gear. They intentionally designed this first one to take this long to kill with only 4 fucking attacks. But despite my issue,
No. I mean, you don't have to fight that one. It's optional. All of them are optional.
with a few bosses in particular, I'd say overall I had fun with the combat when I actually was allowed to fight enemies. Now, of course, I do
I mean, again, would you just rather all enemies just not be able to attack you?
think the combat does have some flaws, just like everything has flaws. So I'll just bring up the few that I think are significant enough to drag down the experience. The first issue I'll get into is the enemy variety, as this was something the developers actually praised about this game, and it feels completely unearned because guess what? They reused almost every enemy type from the first game. I mean,
Yeah, what's wrong with that? He's showing the trolls, with the giant things. What's wrong with that? What, did you kill every enemy and did you wipe out every creature that you fought in the last game to extinction? Is that what you did? No. It makes sense there would be same enemies, including new ones, because you need to go to new realms.
exact same animations and attacks. Same executions too, and I could talk about the executions and how almost all of them are lacking any sort of gore.
That's a complete lie. He cut right before the gore happened. Why would you lie like this? I don't understand. Why? Why would you lie? I don't get it.
Which, yes, the last game also did. It just seems like modern games in general are scared of gore for one reason or another. This game is rated M.
Yeah, it's rated M, so clearly it's rated M for something and for the gore. There's gore in the game. What? What?
So what's the fucking problem? And to get
There's a cutscene where Heimdall loses his arm. You can't just... What?
back to the enemy variety, I feel like a lot of the new enemy types are just kinda lame, like generic Viking raiders on Midgard, or the Asgard warriors, which are all zombies. The
Well, they're all the Inheriar, the Asgard warriors, as you say.
frog enemies that surprisingly show up in like 3 different realms, and a lot of the ones that aren't lame visually anyway are
I
actually
mean,
very
that's entirely subjective.
annoying to fight, like the new light elf variant that's a samurai, or the Asgard warrior who has a Bifrost pick and a hammer. These motherfuckers can attack at lightning speed and have unblockable moves or moves you have to parry.
And what's wrong with that? You just want every enemy to not be able to attack you. Is that your thing?
And can dodge out of the middle of combos, shit like that, that just makes them
What is wrong with that?
not very fun to engage with unless you're spamming runic attacks. And for my last major criticism of the combat, let's talk about hard mode somewhat briefly. As tempting as it is to talk about this in length, because I unfortunately played...
He showed he was running into an enemy, and he just got surrounded and died. That's entirely his fault. He had the entire length of time to dodge backwards. That's entirely his fault.
Played about 2/3 of the game on hard mode, or Give Me No Mercy. It's a waste of time because most people will never play it on hard, and trust me, it's a mistake. And not for the reason you're thinking. Most people would think, oh, the enemies just do too much damage, or they have
What
too
did
much
that
health.
mean? Do too much damage?
Well, I didn't find out what the real problem was until about 15 to 20 hours in, because originally I did turn down the difficulty from hard to normal just a few hours into the game, but it turns out there's a bug where sometimes your difficulty change will not save even after the checkpoint
Well, you saved after you saved before you changed the difficulty, so it went to the last difficulty. I agree that doesn't work. I see the logic. Everything that you had previously before the save goes back to that. But I think they should have made the difficulty level not do that.
Restart. So I actually ended up playing the game on hard for about 8 more hours until I finally decided to check it again after dying really quickly to Neathog. Alright. Sometimes I wonder if, like, the difficulty is bugged or something. Like, I never actually left hard mode. Let me just double check. Wait, what? Wait a minute, what? Wait a minute, guys. I've been on hard mode the whole time. Unfortunately, I let chat vote on whether or not I should stay on hard, so I still ended up playing on hard all the way up until that first Berserker fight.
I think you should restart the game. You have a flawed playthrough.
And after a few more combat encounters, I finally figured out what hard mode really does. It gives every enemy in the game super armor.
That's not even true, because not every enemy in the game had super armor.
Yes, even basic enemy types. So my original recording for this combat section was actually much more negative than this, because I was very annoyed by the fact that every single enemy would either dodge out of the middle of your combo or attack straight through the motherfucking God of Wars.
Again, it's a game. You're supposed to be able to lose. Obviously, narratively, Kratos should be wrecking all their shit.
Axe swings to the chest. I just figured it was a normal gameplay mechanic that only heavy attacks and runic attacks would actually stun the enemy, because I don't think I've ever encountered a hard mode that introduces super armor.
It doesn't.
What a horrible fucking idea. That said, there was one
That
upside
wouldn't be necessarily a bad idea. It depends how it's implemented.
to playing the game on hard and then later on normal. That being the realization that enemies have way too much health even on normal mode. What the hell were they thinking that every single enemy in the game takes at least 6 hits to kill from the motherfucking God of War?
Again, that's not an argument. It's called a video game.
Now again, once you have runic attacks and all these different weapon buffs and things, that isn't really the case anymore. In fact, by the end of the game, I was pretty much just swapping between my 3 weapons, spamming the light and heavy runic attacks, and everything was dead. So the combat was still fun. This is not me, like, counteracting my previous statements. I still think the combat is good. I just think the enemies have too much fucking health. I think
mean,
in a full-blown RPG,
I would like to know why they have too much health. That'd be a good
which I
argument.
wouldn't consider this one, it is an action game with light RPG mechanics. But a full-blown RPG like Dragon's Dogma, which I actually played a little bit of directly after I finished this game on stream. In the early game, enemies do feel like they have too much health because your attack is too low, but that's built into the game's systems, so that once you're level 50 and have better gear, you can kill all those pussy-ass enemies in one hit. There isn't really an equivalent in God of War. There's only one time during the game's story where they purposely throw enemies with less health at you to make you feel powerful.
I mean, you just upgrade more and fight more enemies to get more power. I don't see the problem.
And that was one of my favorite encounters in the game. These stats attached to armor seem to have a very minor influence on your overall stats. Someone actually did testing for the original game and found this out, and it seems like they haven't changed anything. So the only things that matter are the passives, which range from incredibly situational to actually pretty damn good, and your overall gear level, which is by far the most important thing. Once again, it feels like this game was designed primarily for casual gamers.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining, by the way. You're the first person that stayed that long. I appreciate it.
People who don't care about stats or numbers or min-maxing. You just equip the gear that has the highest number and move on. And the few people who do care, that gear is saved specifically for the end game. So it makes you question why the gear system even exists. Well, I feel like...
Well, again, you can play more game after the game. You have the Muspelheim challenges, you have Ganal, you have all the type of enemy that you can fight at your current level or after you beat the game.
I feel like the obvious answer is the same answer that you could give for any modern game that has crafting or a million side quests or activities scattered throughout the map. The AAA industry all copy off of each other. They see what works for one company and they steal some of those concepts and add it to their game. They call it feature creep, right?
No, that's not what that is. Feature creep is you keep adding feature to the game until it becomes a chimeran mess. And that's not what this game is.
Right. And while personally I hate crafting, I actually usually like RPG mechanics. They're just too bare bones in these last two games. So now that we've talked about combat pretty thoroughly, it's time we talk about level design. This is not going to be a long section because the level design is very simple and exactly the same for every realm in the game. Stop me if you've heard this one before. It's a set of combat arenas connected with linear hallways.
I mean, okay, let me
Everything
finish.
that's in between a combat encounter is either a puzzle or a minor optional little side pathway that has a treasure chest at the end.
That's not even true. What you have is, you have the little open sections. You can go on the boat, or you have entire realms you can search. There's in Sparterheim, I believe. There's an entire open section with, you learn about Fae there.
I know a shit ton of you are going to have no problem with this whatsoever. You might not even notice that it's all a bunch of linear hallways.
It's not, though. There are open sections, and then you have the day and night cycle, too.
Just want to remind you that back when Final Fantasy 13 came out, everyone called it Final Hallway 13, and the resemblance is truly
I need you to understand this. What he's showing is the flashback scenes to Faye in God of War Ragnarok, right? And he's saying this is a linear hallway section. Yes, it's very linear, but you're learning a story. There's no combat in the flashback sections, but you're learning about Faye and Kratos' relationship. It's really narratively intriguing. But he just doesn't care. He didn't have to care, but it's really well done.
uncanny.
Smile. Yeah? Try going right.
I'm sorry.
This joke doesn't even work because
each other's heads off.
I thought I was playing the game, John. But I've been using the wrong controller the whole time.
See, he's using the wrong controller. That joke doesn't even work.
And now this has become increasingly common in any single-player game that doesn't feature a sandbox. Now these last two God of War games have featured both, sort of, anyway. The mini sandboxes are just islands connected by a glorified loading screen. So it's not all that different, but at least it has the illusion of exploration, right? Which is much better than the hallways. I'm not shitting on it. If you see a treasure chest right across an invisible wall that you could just feasibly jump over, which of course you can't fucking jump in half of modern games either, which...
The game was designed around not jumping. I don't see the problem in that. Again, with Under the Mail, he has a problem with not jumping. If the game is designed around not jumping, I can see if the game wasn't designed around it. But it's designed around puzzles. And you don't need to jump to do any of them.
Which is just bizarre. Everything feels like a hallway in a circle and a hallway in a circle in this game, and there's only so many ways I can complain about that before it gets tiresome. Just know that I'm not asking for another sandbox or open world. I'm just asking for a little bit more player interactivity, a little bit more actual control over the game. Player choice, right? I know it's a bit of a meme term, but when you restrict my controls so heavily by putting invisible walls everywhere...
They have arenas, and there's a place where you can go, and then you can just see past it. There's clearly a place where they want you to go and not want to go. They did the same thing in the Order game. They just had little demon faces show up to where you can't go.
Everywhere. It makes the game less fun every single time, without exception. So we might as well talk about the puzzles too. I fucking hate the puzzles. Every single puzzle has the same exact solution. You look around the room, and you throw your axe or you throw your blades. That's it. The difficulty ranges from extremely easy and brain dead to weirdly difficult just because you missed something obvious or you forgot.
Well, why is that difficult if you miss something obvious? Thank you for joining. Why is it... What? You know what? Everybody in the chat. If you miss something obvious, is that weirdly difficult? Leave your comment below.
You forget how a mechanic works. People made fun of me multiple times on the streams because I forgot a simple mechanic like runic arrows can explode fire, which made a puzzle...
Well, that's your fault. That's not the game's fault.
Way more difficult than it was supposed to be. But the puzzles just feel completely pointless and like padding because they feel less like puzzles and more like a game of I Spy. There's almost no actual thinking involved. And look, I know in the original God of War games it wasn't that much different. Just replace I Spy with block puzzles and you have essentially the same thing, right? But
oh my god. Okay. In the Light Temple with the Dark Elves and the Light Elves. There's a little puzzle where you turn the wheel and then you throw the axe at it, right? And then you hold it, and then you throw it and it breaks the light, right? And I don't know how he did this, but he thought he had to let the wheel go and throw it. But he somehow did that and it worked. I'd never done that before, but it worked.
There were way too many puzzles in this game. Yes, some were just optional Norn chests. But do you really think I'm going to ignore this loot right in front of me? No. The game is 25 hours long. Why the hell do you need this many puzzles, man? It makes no sense.
You don't have to do that puzzle.
And that's not even mentioning the backseat gaming from the NPCs. Every single one of the story mandatory puzzles, one of the characters will literally give you the solution if you take too long. That
is a big issue. That is a really big issue. A lot of the times, right when you get to the puzzle, your companion, whether it be Atreus or Freya, says stuff like, I think it's this, or you should try this. it gets really annoying because you're not able to do the puzzle.
Which doesn't sound so bad, right? Except, how long do you think is too long? Just take a guess. It's less than whatever you think it is. It's like 1 minute, dude. There have been
Sometimes not
several
even
puzzles
that.
in the game where I was actively in the middle of solving it, and the character told me what to do. It pissed me off so goddamn much. Fire for something.
And you turn it somehow.
Yeah, I can turn it, but I haven't even figured out the puzzle yet, woman. Give me a second.
You swing that torch to the other
Shush!
side and burn the brambles
Shush!
off your path.
I'm gonna kill you. 10 out of 10. It babies you, tells you exactly what to do.
Lane, swing the torch to the other side.
What the hell? Shut up! What are you doing? Oh my god. Listen, I've had my retard moments during these last few streams. I won't pretend I didn't. What?
See, you claim, you say it's your fault here, but in the actual video, you say it's the game's fault. I don't understand it.
Stop. 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 I'm putting this in the video. I'm putting this in the fucking video. This is... no, you can't defend this. You can't defend this. And do you want to know why the developers did this? You'll never believe it. It's because of Dark Side Phil, DSP. And if you don't know...
If that's true, then that's... It's really sad. If any of you know Dark Side Phil...
who it is, it's not worth explaining to you. But let's just say he's one of the worst gamers of all time. He is notoriously horrible at every video game he plays. And they fucking designed their game around him, of all people.
The legendary 18
We have an ad.
arrives in the War Thunder online action game.
Good
The
for
sound
you.
of a 7-barrel gun, plus a whole...
So now it's finally time to get to the story. As you can probably tell by how much is left of the video, I had a lot to say, and most of it is not positive. As hard as I tried up until
You know
this
what? Let's give him a chance. Let's give him a chance.
point, to be as fair as I possibly could to this game, this is about where that stops. I fucking hated this story. I honestly struggled to think of anything I actually liked about it. And I mean anything. And there's a reason that non-Sony fans call these games movie games, because they really are fucking movies. 70% of this game is some type of cutscene.
That's not even true. That's not even true. But what would be wrong with a lot of cutscenes? Because if combat isn't happening, character could be happening, and that's interesting too.
Scene. 70% is not spent actually playing the fucking game. Down to some of the QuickTime events not even being real QuickTime events, as in you cannot fail them. Okay, you don't want me to hit the prompts, right?
He's showing you have to click the button to learn how to use Anger Boda. That's not a QuickTime event, though.
Oh, no, you have infinite time, don't you? Yeah, oh my god. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, 12 out of 10. Every game Sony makes is a fucking masterpiece. Normally, I would never spend over half a video talking about this story, but when over half the game is the story, I fear I have no choice. So here we go, the complete story breakdown of God of War Ragnarok. So Ragnarok is a direct sequel to the last one, to no surprise, but there has been a time skip. I think it's an undefined amount of time, so and no, that's not a specific...
Sorry. Oh. Clicked the wrong thing. Okay, we're still going.
specific plot point, but it might as well be. It doesn't even matter, because despite literally being given a waifu, he doesn't show any sexual interest in her whatsoever.
They're children. What the fuck? They're actually children.
It turns out in the time between games, Atreus and Kratos have literally just been hiding in their house, waiting for the world to end. I wish I was fucking joking. But
No they weren't. They've been training.
yes, despite an
And And secretly, Atreus had been looking for Tyr.
Apocalyptic winter coming to Midgard. The heroes do nothing. It turns out that Freya has been trying to kill Kratos for the last 4 years, but despite knowing exactly where he lives, she somehow has failed every time.
She doesn't know where they live. They have a protection stave that she can't enter.
Despite the game trying to tell us that Freya is totally a threat, guys, she's a super badass. She could probably even take Kratos.
You know, I would have beaten you
What?
earlier.
Well, she is another god, and from what I know, she held Odin's army to a stalemate, which include Thor and Baldur, and potentially Magni and Modi.
If Atreus hadn't been there.
Perhaps.
We could go again. Find out for certain.
I would rather not.
I'll bet you wouldn't.
So the story really begins with Fenrir dying. You can
I mean, Fenrir, but
consider this the first of many
Definitely.
Ryan Johnson-esque subversion moments in this.
I don't know what subversion is. Fenrir dies, and Atreus does accidentally does a spell, and he realizes it, and then he puts it in the other doggo.
This story. Because if you know anything about Ragnarok from actual Norse mythology, you know Fenrir is a big part of it. The game also tries really hard to tug at your heartstrings here, but we literally just met this wolf. We've never seen him before, so it doesn't work.
I mean, that's entirely subjective. If you don't like... I mean, okay.
Literally the first 20 minutes are one giant cutscene.
You're supposed to care about this animal dying. You know? You're sad when animals die.
You don't even really get to play the game unless you count engaging with a QuickTime event and moving the analog stick left or right as gameplay. Atreus runs off into the woods, Kratos chases him. Turns out he can now turn into animals. Yes, the biggest character development for Atreus is that he is now a furry.
Okay, I suppose if you want to think that.
And so Kratos now determines that his son can't be trusted.
It's not true. I mean, but whatever.
Since
What?
he can't control his emotions or something. Remember this plot point for later. Then Odin and Thor finally show up, and honestly the game could have just started here. And this is the second major point of subversion, because despite God of War 2018 building up Odin and especially Thor as being like these badass super powerful guys, Odin looks like a frail old man and sounds like a snake oil salesman.
I mean, that's kind of the point. That's kind of what that's his brand. He looks disarming. He doesn't look very threatening.
You know who I am? Back before winter set in, there were some misunderstandings. Regrettable ones. But I think we all have a better idea of who we're dealing with. Now, what you did to his boys. Self-defense.
And some people have implied that he's supposed to be a Trump allegory, but I will give the developers the benefit of the doubt this time and just say he's supposed to be some generic fascist smooth talker.
I mean, I don't know where the Trump thing come from, but okay.
Yes. Thor is a fat fuck alcoholic who has daddy issues.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. For one, Trump been trying not to drink the whole game. Odin has been pushing him to drink because he says he'd more fun like that. You know, he'd more fun when he doesn't think. He has a lot of issues because his dad been hard on him in his whole life. He doesn't really care about Thor. Odin does.
We don't learn most of that until later, but we might as well get it out of the way now. And God, I just fucking hate this design. Anyone who says he looks like a strong man has never actually seen a strong man.
He looks like a strong man who had a couple thousand years of alcoholism.
Even Eddie Hall at his fattest had more muscle definition than this. Whatever, I'm wasting too much time on this. Basically, Odin came to offer peace. Kratos refuses, which might as well be a declaration of war. Just
No, he refuses the deal that Odin gives him because it's a shit deal. You know, he says he'll take care of Freya, meaning he'll kill her. And Kratos doesn't want that.
keep that in mind for later. And so you get your first huge boss battle with Thor, which actually was really fun. One of the most fun parts of the game for sure. Very similar to the first game where you fight Baldur in the beginning. And we also find out during that conversation that Atreus somehow was sneaking off during the in-between years, searching for Tyr in the other realms. And of course, Odin...
Yeah, with Sindri. If you know anything about Sindri, that would be pretty easy.
found out, as he has spies everywhere. So Kratos eventually decides, okay, son, let's go look for Tyr. Which they put off for no reason, by the way. That was so obviously the setup of the previous game.
I don't... No, they said he was dead. I don't know where you would get that. It's obviously the setup.
Why do they keep trying to make Kratos the reluctant protagonist? And honestly, the truth is, he's not even really the real protagonist of this game. Atreus is, and you play as Atreus for roughly half the game.
That's not even true. Kratos makes all the decisions in the game when it comes to practically every character. You know, even at the end of the game, Atreus goes off and your new partner is Freya. I don't even know where that come from.
And his gameplay segments are the worst. They're completely fucking brain dead. It basically turns the game into a third-person shooter where you just charge up elemental arrows and then charge up normal arrows. And the game has such generous aim assist that you don't even feel like you're playing the fucking game.
Then why don't you turn aim assist off?
I purposely didn't talk about Atreus during the combat section because it would be purely negative. Even on hard mode, his segments were completely fucking brain dead. I think I only died one time, and it's because I wasn't paying attention. Anyway, so rather anticlimactically, you find Tyr in Svartalfheim, the dwarf realm, and Ryan Johnson's subversion number 3, the God of War is a fucking pussy.
Well, he's been captured for a really long time. You know, he'd been tortured and all this stuff. What do you expect?
And he does absolutely nothing for the most of the story. Now,
well, if you know the ending of the story, you know why.
obviously those of you who finished the game know why, and in retrospect...
And that's a bad thing?
It is slightly justified.
It's incredibly justified. It makes entirely too much sense.
Considering the twist. This still comes across like the developers spitting in the face of the player because they spent so much time building up Tyr in the last game that when we finally meet him, he's fucking worthless. Then in the next section of the game, the character...
Okay, well, I gotta go. Have a great day. We'll continue this tomorrow. Thank you for watching.